Welcome everyone to this webinar, to our session. The topic of today will be selecting STEM graduate programs in the United States. And we welcome our presenters, representatives from Thomas J. Watson School of Engineering and Applied Science, Binghamton University, State University of New York. As I said, this webinar will be recorded, so we will be sending this session, if you want to see it again, to all participants registered. And if you have any questions through the presentation, please feel free to type your questions, either in English or Spanish, since both languages will be managed by our presenters today. And they will be answering all your questions at the end of the session. We will be reading all your doubts. If you have any question about Education USA, please also feel free to ask, and we will be also responding about that. I will be now start with the presentation of today. So. Okay, so our representatives will be Maggie Wolford, the Director of Graduate Recruitment, Owisu Botch, Graduate Recruiter, and Yvonne Ponixan, Interim Assistant Director of Graduate Recruitment. And she will be able to also talk in Spanish if you feel more comfortable with that. Well, Education USA. Education USA is a program that is part of the Departments of State Bureau of Educational and Cultural Affairs. So we are part of the government of the United States. We are not working as an agency or anything like that. In that way, we are a global network. We are a great network of advising centers around the world. And in Mexico, we are around 26 Education USA advising centers. So if any one of the participants, you are not living in Mexico City, for sure you will find an advisor, an advising center closest to you. As well, if any of the participants are from any other country, you will also find an advising center, an advisor that will be very happy to help you and advise you in your interest for going and study in the US. Our targets public, so to say. We work with students, with high educational institutions, local, and of course we are working in collaboration with US universities, governments, in this case, well, Mexico and the US government, and non-governmental organizations. Our objective is to provide to everyone who wants to study a program, undergraduate or graduate program in the US, so we can provide guidance and assistance and this advice through unbiased, accurate, comprehensive information, and also give you all the resources possible that you can use for applying to a program in the US. I want to emphasize that these services and this advising is free all the time. As I said, we are part of the government of the United States, so it's free all the time. All the resources, materials that we have in the center is also for free, like books and guides for you to prepare for exams and everything like that. It's for free. Well, as I said, we can provide to you resources online. Our activities and the services that we are offering are in center. We do also outreach activities and virtual activities. In center, well, we are located in an American space, as all the advising centers. Some are at binational centers at universities, and we are located in Benjamin Franklin's library in Mexico City. And over there, we develop many activities like informational sessions. And there is where we invite all of you participants today. So if you want further to join one of these sessions, you will get information, overall information about all the requirements that you will need to fulfill for sending an application for admission in the US. One-on-one sessions, so when you have all this information and you can start your search and you have, according to your interests, a list of universities, then you can contact us for personal advising. So we call these one-on-one sessions, and then we can advise you through the whole process for admission, and of course, according to your interests and according to your personal case. We provide also workshops. Some of the reps are also visiting us at the office. By now, as you know, we are closed because of the contingency and the current situation. So we remain making everything remotely. Over there, as I said, we have the materials as books and guides for studying for your tests. But right now, everything will be virtual until further notice. Outreach activities is when we go directly to local educational institutions for providing these informational sessions and workshops and seminars, and we have participation at mobility fairs from specific universities, or also some fairs that are inviting many universities and many organizations within education. Our virtual activities as well, we have these sessions like just this webinar in collaboration with Binghamton University. So constantly we are providing these webinars online and online fairs and seminars, as well as the one-on-one virtual sessions will be virtual. And that is Education USA, and now I give the word to our reps from today. Thank you. Maggie, I will unmute you. Perfect.
Gracias. Buenas tardes. Gracias por estar aquí hoy. Me llamo Maggie Wolford de la Universidad de Binghamton. Hoy me acompañan mis colegas Owusu Boke e Yvonne Ponixan. Yvonne habla español con fluidez, por lo que estará disponible para responder preguntas en español durante nuestras preguntas y respuestas después de la presentación. Lo siento. No soy una hablante nativa, así que I'm going to be doing this session in English. I am originally from Kentucky. I hold a Master of Arts in Public Relations and a graduate certificate in institutional effectiveness. And as was already said, I am the Director of Graduate Recruitment and Admissions at the Thomas J. Watson School of Engineering and Applied Science at Binghamton University. I believe you can also see my colleagues who have joined me here today. Owusu Boche, who is originally from Ghana, came to the United States as an international student and has since achieved his Master of Education in Curriculum and Instruction, as well as a PhD in Adult Professional and Community Education. He joined the School of Engineering and Applied Science as a graduate recruiter last year. And finally, we do also have Yvonne Ponixan. She is the interim assistant director, or the interim director, excuse me, for the Office of Graduate Recruitment, which is our campus-wide graduate recruitment. So especially if you're interested in some programs outside of engineering or computer science, her office would be the one that you would connect with. So just a brief overview of today's presentation. We're going to go through a few things that you should consider before applying to graduate school, as well as how to search for graduate programs, how to apply to graduate school, and then we'll allow time at the end for Q&A. So there are lots of reasons why you might decide to pursue a graduate degree. It certainly gives you more time to mature as an individual, figure out what it is that you want to really do with your life. You know, when you're committing to a career and to this path, it's something that you're going to be doing for a long time. So you need to really make sure you know yourself and know what it is you want to do. It also gives you more time to mature as a professional and decide, is this the level I want to be at in a company? Would an advanced degree allow me to pursue something higher, maybe a higher position, things like that? It also gives you multiple options, including interdisciplinary studies. I'll be talking about a few of those examples in a little while, but this is definitely something to consider. There's also a very large number of students who go out after their bachelor's degree and work for several years and then come back for graduate school. And they do this in order to seek a change in their industry or profession, maybe to learn new technologies or theories, or to gain a competitive advantage. Opportunities for advancement, there are some positions that even to be promoted, you must have a graduate degree, a master's, for example. So you have to be mindful of that. And if anyone in the session is interested in a PhD, I will just note that a master's can be a great first step before you commit to a PhD. My husband is actually in a PhD program, and I know that he loves what he is studying, but there are also days that are just, very long and very hard. So you have to be really committed to this, genuinely love what you're studying and what you're working on. And the PhD is typically a means for pursuing a career in academia or for senior level leadership. So when you're weighing your options between, say, a master's or a PhD, there's a few things you can consider. The master's degree typically takes less time, average 2 to 3 years, though there are some specialized programs that are only 1-year master's degrees. Whereas the PhD can be anywhere from 5 to 7 years, depending on the area that you're studying, the kinds of research that you're doing, and of course, all kinds of unforeseeables like the COVID-19 situation we find ourselves in now, can limit access to certain documents or laboratories, and so may add time for students currently in graduate programs. Master's students are usually going for a specialized training because it's very focused on the career. You're really looking at sort of what's coming next, what's beyond the master's degree, where the PhD is more focused on fellowships and assistantships. It's all about camaraderie and research and trying to create knowledge and add to the knowledge that we have. So the master's degree is a bit less time and money. It's more for people who think they want to go on, whether that is for a career or continuing for the PhD. But if you're going to commit to the PhD, just know it is a large commitment and is really for people who are wanting to go for more creating knowledge and improving the world that way. A couple of other just sort of quick stats for why you might want to pursue a graduate degree. These are average starting salaries by discipline for 2020. So you can see that for each degree achieved, from a bachelor's to a master's to a PhD, the earning potential goes up. That's certainly true for engineering and computer science, which is the area that I work in, but it's true for other areas as well. You can see for business, math and science, things like that, even social sciences. So the earning potential is certainly increased. We had a faculty member in our electrical engineering department who actually took those numbers and did an analysis that showed someone with a master's degree will earn on average $1 million more over the course of their working life than someone with only a bachelor's. So even if you're looking at that last slide and thinking that the difference isn't that much, you have to think about how the difference in earning potential really compounds over time. Another important statistic to think about is unemployment. I will note that this data is from September of 2019. This is only updated about once per year through the US Department of Labor. but you can see that for each degree that's achieved, whether it's a high school diploma, college, associate's, bachelor's, the chances of unemployment go down. So as you're moving through this, you've now made the decision that you want to go to graduate school. You need to take a little bit of time to do a personal assessment. So some questions to consider would be, why do you want to pursue a graduate degree? And for this, we're thinking specifically about STEM programs. Why do you want to get a graduate degree in STEM? Is it just for the higher earning potential, or is it looking at how the degree can impact your ability to get jobs, to get access to certain opportunities, things like that? One of the main questions I think you have to consider is whether or not a STEM graduate degree is necessary for your field. So what I often tell students for this is you want to be looking at job descriptions, not for the job you want right now, but for the job you may want in, say, 5 years or 8 years, to see, are those job descriptions requiring a master's degree or a PhD? You need to be thinking ahead on those things. And if a graduate degree is not necessary, then again, you go back to that question of why do you want to pursue a graduate degree? You also have to think about what you offer a program, specifically being mindful of the fact that it's not just about what the program can give you in terms of expertise and experience, but also the unique experiences and perspectives that you're bringing into the classroom, because it's definitely a value add. And the last point for personal assessment is considering, is now the right time for you to go to graduate school? You need to think about your own financial situation, your family situation, and think like, is now a good time, or should I wait a couple of years until, say, like your spouse is more settled in their career and there's, you know, some more money coming in so that you have the time and flexibility for the degree, things like that. You also have to be mindful of deadlines and timelines. Certainly with regard to any kind of test preparation that you're going to do. So for the GRE or English proficiency exams, such as the TOEFL or IELTS, but also you have to be looking at different universities will have different deadlines for their applications to the program. Certain funding opportunities may have even earlier deadlines you have to be mindful of, such as fellowships and grants, things like that. So you need to be really looking ahead as much as possible. While some universities, including Binghamton, are still, for example, accepting applications for fall 2020, right now, if a student reached out to me as a fresh prospect, I would assume that they're looking to fall 2021. It's usually about 1 year out that you start asking questions and collecting data about potential programs. So with that, how to search for a graduate program. First and foremost, fit is key. There are, for example, if you're looking at a program in business administration, there are literally tens of thousands of programs in business administration just in the United States, probably hundreds of thousands, if not millions, if you're looking around the world. So you need to figure out what university, what program is going to be a good fit for you. Why should you go to one program over another? And one really good way to sort of facilitate that conversation is to talk to your faculty. They're a wonderful resource. They know where other students have gone on and been successful and had good experiences. And so it's good to connect with them just to see what they would recommend and what they know about. You can also, of course, make a list of programs in your particular field of interest. I usually recommend sort of having maybe an Excel file where you're tracking the university, their deadlines, their requirements, all of it together, so that, again, being mindful of deadlines and timelines, you can ensure that you've got everything in order and ready to go. A lot of students will also ask how to know if a program is a STEM program. So STEM, typically, we're talking about science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. But as international students, STEM has another meaning that you should be mindful of, which is that if a program is a STEM certified program, by the US government, then you get 3 years of OPT to work in the United States as opposed to 1 year of OPT. So this is why there's a big emphasis on STEM, and there's a lot of students interested in those programs. And so if you're wanting to know if a program is STEM certified so that you can get that additional experience, if you can't find the information readily on the website, you can always connect with someone from their admissions team, whether that's the graduate school, Office of Graduate Recruitment, or if there are dedicated recruiters for particular programs, all of that information should be on the website. So with that, a couple of quick pointers for contacting a program. First, I would say that never worry that you're going to be a bother. It is quite literally our job to help you when you're interested in graduate programs at our university. So don't worry about that. Feel free to reach out to us. No question is too small. However, I will also say that the emails that I receive that I am most happy to help with are ones where the student has obviously done a bit of homework, a bit of work on their own end. So, you know, I might get an email from a student that just says, do you offer a Master of Science in Computer Science? And I will respond, yes, we do. Here's more information. But if that student had looked at our website at all, they would have found that information very readily. What might be a better email is if a student reaches out and says, I see you have a Master of Science in Computer Science. However, I'm trying to confirm the requirements, for example, or the deadlines, because that information is maybe not as easily found on the website. So you want to make sure that you're connecting with someone from a recruitment office or team, because they're going to be maybe more quick to respond than a faculty member. And you also want to make sure that you're asking pretty direct questions. So a few other tips from graduate directors at Binghamton University. The first would be to not apply to only one program. You want to be sure that you're giving yourself options. Part of why that is so important is actually the next point, that meeting minimum requirements does not guarantee admission. There are a lot of students who are applying to our graduate programs who have the necessary TOEFL scores, GRE, they have good transcripts, good letters of recommendation, but there's a limited number of seats in our program. And so we have to then rank order those students to decide who we're going to admit. So I would say to be mindful of that, make sure that you're giving yourself options, and to, of course, you want to meet the minimum requirements, but understand that doesn't guarantee you admission. And lastly, your application should not be the first contact you've had with the department. Whether you're reaching out to someone from the admissions team or you're participating in a webinar like this, so long as there's some kind of connection so that the department knows that your application is coming. So this can be especially helpful if you have questions about requirements for the program, and say, for example, the university has told you, like I have connected with the department to say, I know this student doesn't have quite the necessary GRE, but we're making an exception for them because they also have this other experience. If we had not had that conversation and the student just applied to the department, they may say like, oh, this student doesn't have the necessary GRE, and kick out the application before you're able to get that far. And so it's good to make sure that you're connecting with the department in advance of your application. So with that, most applications to programs in the United States have a lot of the same components. So we're just going to go through that briefly. First would be the online, or in very rare cases, paper application. This is where you're putting in your contact information, the program you want to apply to, things like that. You're then going to need to submit official scores. Almost always official scores, I guess I should say, as some schools will allow you to submit unofficial. This would include your test scores, such as GRE, which is what most graduate programs require. GMAT is more if you're looking at a business program. MCAT for medical school, DAT for dental school. The exam you're taking will depend on the program you're applying to, as well as English proficiency. So at Binghamton, we accept TOEFL, IELTS, PTE, and for fall 2020, we're also accepting Duolingo, since that's available for students online in this COVID-19 world. If you're unsure if an exam is accepted by the university you're applying to, again, you can always reach out to someone from the admissions team and they can let you know. You're also going to need to submit transcripts from all the universities that you've attended, as well as a personal statement, which we'll talk about in a little bit more detail in just a moment, a resume, letters of recommendation, and any program-specific materials. If you're going for, say, for example, literature or creative writing, you're probably going to need to submit a writing sample. If you're doing something with fine arts or architecture, you may need to submit a portfolio. So you just want to make sure you're looking to see if there's any program-specific materials required. So with regard to the personal statement, you want to demonstrate that you know the department, its faculty, its research, and that you can clearly show how the program's curriculum, faculty, and educational objectives align with your personal and career goals. How is studying with these faculty at this university going to help you with advancing in research or in your industrial positions, things like that? If you've spoken with faculty in the department, this is the place to mention that, as well as if you have any kind of connection with the university or department. If you've had any communication, it's good just to note that. And in the personal statement, which I should mention is sometimes called a statement of purpose or a statement of research, this can be a good thing to do. You also want to reflect a balance between well-defined goals, but also a bit of flexibility and openness. So if, for example, you become too specific and say, I want to work with only this faculty member because they are the only person who's doing, the area of research that I'm interested in, perhaps you do not know that that faculty member is planning to retire or is going on sabbatical. And so if you only give yourself the one option, the department can say like, oh, well, they only want to work with this person and that person's unavailable, so we're going to kick out the application. So again, it's good to be in touch with the department in advance so that you can be aware of any of those potential changes and so that you can make sure you're giving yourself the best personal statement possible. With regard to resumes or CVs, I would strongly recommend that you have this reviewed by career services or faculty, even a coworker or supervisor if they're willing, some kind of mentor, but just have someone review it to make sure that it's organized in a way that's very clear, but also to ensure that you've listed everything properly. If you don't yet have a resume or CV, there are endless templates online that you can access. But one that I would recommend is actually on our website. We have discipline-specific resume templates because as a, for example, biomedical engineer, your resume looks very different than someone who studied history or English, something like that. So we're just going to look at an example of that real quick. So this is a sample resume that's on our website for, let's say, a junior or third year biomedical engineering student. This is what most resumes in the United States look like. It's a pretty standard format. So the name is at the very top. All the contact information is easily identifiable. There's an education summary, a listing of technical skills important to the discipline, a summary of professional experiences, including formal jobs, internships, and any freelance work, highlighting major tasks that this student has done, and then a listing of any leadership positions or experience, and finally a formal employment history at the bottom. This is certainly not required. Many universities, including Binghamton University, are very used to looking at international resumes and transcripts, so it doesn't have to fit perfectly into this format. I only share this as an example in case, in case you have not yet written a resume for yourself. For letters of recommendation, we often get students who worry about who they should ask and what would be required on these letters. So these are my recommendations. I would say that if you are a recent graduate or a current student, you should have at least one faculty member write a letter of recommendation. If you are working and have been working for several years, maybe you don't have those connections with faculty anymore. So you may get a current supervisor or someone that you've worked on particular projects with to list one of your recommendations. We had a student who asked in a previous session, they are in the military, and they asked if they could get a commanding officer to write a letter of recommendation. That's perfectly fine. What's really important here is more that the person can speak to your potential and your abilities more so than what their title is. So with regard to when to ask for letters of recommendation, I would say ideally you want to give each person 1 month to write the letter and to submit it. These are usually done electronically now, but that would be enough time for that. But I would say at the absolute minimum, you want to allow them 2 weeks. As we all know, sometimes people can get distracted. And so 2 weeks would ensure they have enough time to get in the letters of recommendation, even if they do, lose track of time and get distracted for a short while. When you're wondering about what this person should be including in the letter of recommendation, you want someone who can speak to your intellectual potential, to the fact that they can see you, going far and really achieving great things in your future. And you want them to be able to speak directly to their time working with you. So if you get someone to write a letter of recommendation who is, say, for example, the president of your company, but they don't know you, they haven't worked personally with you, the fact that they have a great title is nice, but they're not going to be able to have great content in this letter of recommendation because they don't know you. So you need to strike that balance. And I will just make a final note here to please not draft your own letters of recommendation. Some universities have very strict policies on this, and they may deny your application outright if they find out that you've written your own letters of recommendation. So just avoid that altogether. 2 special notes for international students. First would be that some schools will require additional materials, so you want to make sure that you're checking their requirements. For example, they may want a picture of your passport page for visa processing and things like that. And additionally, if you have received a degree from a US institution or by chance a university in, say, the UK or Australia, then you may be able to have your English proficiency requirements waived for your grad school application. Again, it's always good to make sure you're talking to the department in advance so that you know exactly what's required of you. And then I believe this is the last bit before we get to the Q&A, the funding question. So my experience has been that when I meet a student, once they know our university has the program they are interested in, this is usually the second question. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of information. You've probably heard about research assistantships, RAs, teaching assistantships, TAs, or graduate assistantships, GAs. These are terms that we mention a lot, but just so you know a bit about what they are, research assistantships are usually where you are assigned to a faculty member or a project, and you are working on a very specific project. Teaching assistantships, you may be teaching a class all on your own, or you may be assisting a professor in teaching a class. Maybe you're helping grade exams, or you may do a lecture while the professor is away at a conference, things like that. Typically speaking, RAs and TAs come with full tuition scholarships and a stipend to live on. So they're very competitive, very highly sought after. Graduate assistantships tend to be more administrative or sort of a professional job. So I had a graduate assistantship during my master's degree where I was working in my university's graduate school for 20 hours per week. I organized webinars, I helped to put together the orientation for new students. And so it really was like a staff position, but for a reduced number of hours. My position did come with a tuition scholarship and a stipend, but graduate assistantships can vary greatly from different universities. So you want to make sure that you note that. There's also external funding. So whether that's a Fulbright or something from the government in Mexico or other government that you may be coming from, there's lots of external funding opportunities. And we're going to talk about that in just a moment. I would say if you're wondering about when to ask about funding, as a rule, I would say that it's best to ask once you've been admitted to the program, to be able to reach out and say, I'm an admitted student and I would like to know about funding opportunities. But you can certainly ask earlier. We get many students who ask us even before they've started an application, and that's perfectly fine. The biggest thing here is, especially if you're looking for a research assistantship, that's all about finding a faculty member and a project that you align with. And so sometimes it's hard to get faculty to agree to have someone be a research assistant until they've already been through the admissions process. So again, different universities have slightly different processes. It's good to connect with them in advance. A final note before we look into the searching for external funding would be that you want to make sure you're comparing offers. So for example, before COVID-19, I happened to be traveling and I met with a young woman and her father. She had been admitted to NJIT, New Jersey Institute of Technology, and they had offered her a 25% tuition discount. She'd also been admitted to Binghamton, and her father was saying, she's been offered a tuition discount at this university, why should she go to Binghamton? And so I got out, a notepad, and I just did the math to show that even with a 25% tuition discount, the tuition at Binghamton University was much cheaper than the tuition at NJIT. So when you are receiving offers, it's really nice when a university offers you a scholarship. I certainly understand that, but you want to make sure that you're looking at those offers to ensure that they're comparable. So what's the cost of living like in, say, maybe a more rural area versus in New York City or Boston? What's the cost going to be for transportation? Things like that. So you want to make sure you have all of those factors in mind when you're comparing funding offers. And then a final note on the funding question is that there are actually tools for searching for some of that external funding. So whether you're using Google, which is certainly a valid option, just looking for scholarships, or you might find a resource like this one. If you're applying to Binghamton, we have an Office of External Scholarships, and there is a search engine on the website called Scholarships and Other Award Resources. So you can put in, for example, that you're a graduate level computer science student, hit search, and all these scholarships will come up. You can then narrow down. Some of them may only be for residents of New York State. Some of them may only be for international applicants. Some may only be for women, that kind of thing. So you have to make sure you're looking at opportunities that apply to you. But there are certainly resources like this on other universities' web pages, or again, there's always Google, but I would highly encourage you to check out some of these options. With that, I've got just a couple of quick things about Binghamton University, and then we will get to your questions. So the first would be just to let you know where we are. We are in upstate New York. We're about 3 hours from the city. And you can see on this map some of the major industrial hubs that are near to us. So these are really great for students when they're looking for jobs and internships as part of their studies. A couple of quick facts about Binghamton. We are the birthplace of IBM, which we've all heard of IBM. It was started just across the river from us in Endicott, New York. It is one of the safest US mid-sized cities. When I moved here about 5 years ago, it was the 9th safest city in the United States. A fact that my father was very glad to know. And the cost of living is about 12% below the national average. So even though we're in New York State, the cost of living is very low here. Within our single university, we do have 6 great schools. First, we have the Harper College of Arts and Sciences. This would be everything from biology and chemistry to if you're looking at things with the fine arts or anthropology, things like that. We also have a School of Management, where you can do business administration or accounting, for example. The School of Pharmacy and Pharmaceutical Sciences. The College of Community and Public Affairs, which has programs in education, social work, things like that. The Decker School of Nursing, which is pretty self-explanatory. And the Thomas J. Watson School of Engineering and Applied Science, which is where EducationUSA and I are housed. And I will just reiterate that Yvonne, who's on the call, would be a contact for all of these schools as she works for the university-wide office. And one more thing about the Watson School of Engineering and Applied Science, we do offer masters and PhDs in biomedical engineering, computer science, electrical and computer engineering, material science and engineering, which is a transdisciplinary program between mechanical engineering and chemistry, mechanical engineering, and then there is a new one-year Master of Science in Data Analytics that is also a transdisciplinary program between the Department of Computer Science, the Department of Economics, and our School of Management. And our Department of System Science and Industrial Engineering has a master's degree in healthcare systems engineering, as well as master's and PhDs in industrial and systems engineering and system science. So this is just one of our points of pride that we like to make sure we mention. Last year, Professor Stanley Whittingham won the Nobel Prize in Chemistry for his work on the lithium-ion battery, along with two other researchers. So we just are very proud of him, and we think this speaks to the caliber of research and work happening at Binghamton. And so with that, we will move to questions and answers for the last portion of the session.
Of course, thank you, Maggie. Actually, we have a question. En español, ¿las ciencias jurídicas son consideradas para el STEM? Ivonne, un momento, por favor.
No son consideradas STEM las ciencias jurídicas.
Perfecto. Hay otra pregunta. Si se aplica a varios programas a una universidad, ¿se tiene que pagar el application fee por cada una?
Así es, sí se tiene que pagar el application fee por cada una. Sin embargo, tenemos algunos programas en los que permiten o hacen perdonan, digamos, el pago del application fee. Entonces, es importante, como dijo Maggie, que se comunique con la escuela para hacer este tipo de preguntas, a ver si existe la posibilidad de que no tengan que pagar su fee.
Gracias, Ivonne. Aquí también, quiero anexar a la pregunta que nosotros, los asesores en EducationUSA, también les podemos proporcionar información acerca de este punto. Existen también, como dijo Ivonne, esa parte del fee waiver, y nosotros también les podemos asesorar un poco más en ese tema. Otra pregunta. This is in English. Are there job internships opportunities after I complete my STEM program?
Absolutely. So one thing that I didn't talk about too much in the presentation is that the university and most universities in the US have a career services office that will help you with getting your resume brought over to a US format, ensuring that it is, clear and going to give you the best chance. But Binghamton is unique in that we also have a Watson Career and Alumni Connections office just for engineering and computer science. They work very closely with the university-wide career services, but they bring in potential employers through the year. They do a lot of different workshops and opportunities. They've actually, this year with everything around COVID, they've been reaching out to employers to find out about virtual internship opportunities for students who can't travel, for example. And so what I often tell students is that there are tons of these opportunities for jobs and internships, and we put out a lot of information for students. but it's really up to the student to make sure that they're going through the application process and putting out their profile to those different companies. There are students, of course, who say like, I'm only applying to Google, for example. Just like with applying to graduate school in the first place, you want to make sure that you're giving yourself some options when you're going for those jobs and internships. Certainly go for the really aspirational positions, but give yourself some other options as well, because Google, of course, is very competitive.
Perfecto. Otra pregunta. ¿Difieren mucho los cursos para un programa basado en tesis a uno no basado en tesis?
No, realmente los cursos que uno tiene que tomar para un programa basado en tesis versus uno que no está basado en tesis no tienen mucha diferencia, sino hasta el final de la carrera. Al final de la carrera, una persona que no va a hacer, que no piensa hacer una tesis, va a tener que tomar cursos adicionales a los que tomaría una persona que está haciendo su tesis.
Perfecto. Hay otra pregunta. How do you recommend we contact researchers? Is there a specific season, month?
That's a great question. I would say that there's not necessarily a specific month or season to reach out necessarily, but what I would recommend is sort of like as a first touch point is if you're looking at, say, fall 2021 for applying to graduate school, sometime in like September or October of 2020, it would be good to reach out to someone who works in an admissions office, identify the faculty you're interested in working in, and then ask the person from admissions if they're willing to facilitate the introduction. So the reason I make this recommendation is there are some faculty who get so many of these emails that they may not respond to them. Whereas if the email is coming from one of their colleagues, someone that they work with very closely, then they're more willing or more likely to respond promptly. Additionally, as I mentioned, staff at the university may have some context. I know I've had students who reach out and say they want to work with a particular faculty member, and I know that faculty member is not taking new students. And so I will tell them that and see if there's alternate faculty that I can put them in touch with.
Perfect. Thank you, Maggie. Let's see, Yandy, do you have any more questions that you have received?
Yes, I do have a question from Mafer in Spanish, so for Yvonne. She's asking, she said, me interesó el programa de biotecnología o microbiología, pero a nivel undergraduate. Ella quiere saber si el programa ustedes lo tienen en la universidad.
Sí, por supuesto. Nosotros también tenemos el programa de biotechnology y lo tenemos a nivel de undergrad y grad. Entonces, si ella quiere, se puede comunicar conmigo. Mi dirección de correo electrónico está, lo compartiste tú, Yari. And so Yvonne Ponixa at binghamton.edu. Y yo te puedo contactar con todo gusto con la gente de Undergraduate Admissions. Como decía Maggie hace un rato, muchas veces es bueno que se comuniquen con alguien, uno de nosotros, y ya nosotros los ponemos en contacto con alguien de las personas que conocemos para que tengan una atención, digo, un poco más personalizada.
Gracias. No more questions.
Okay, aquí hay otra pregunta. ¿Qué tan importante es la experiencia laboral?
La experiencia laboral es importante, pero hay muchas cosas que tomamos en cuenta cuando estamos viendo las admisiones, o si admitimos a un estudiante o no. Muchas veces los estudiantes tienen experiencia dentro de la universidad que puede ser comparable con la experiencia laboral. Entonces, mucho tiene que ver, como decía Maggie, con qué es lo que estamos poniendo en nuestro Statement of Purpose. Si en el Statement of Purpose estamos diciendo que, digamos, por ejemplo, yo soy de México, yo hice mi maestría aquí en Estados Unidos, ¿cierto? Entonces, lo que traté de hacer es vender mi experiencia en México, habiendo estudiado en la Universidad Nacional Autónoma de México, dentro de mi Statement of Purpose. ¿Y qué fue lo que yo obtuve de mi experiencia? Bueno, en la UNAM hacemos mucho research. Entonces, eso lo utilicé para cuando apliqué a mi maestría y me ayudó muchísimo. So, es mucho más cómo te vendes que la experiencia en sí.
Perfecto. Otra pregunta. Do you offer master's degrees in chemistry?
Yes, we do have a master's degree in chemistry. Yvonne, do you happen to know any of their deadlines or requirements off the top of your head, or I can look them up?
They have open deadlines right now until, yes, they are still accepting students, but as Maggie had mentioned before, you have to understand that it's better if you kind of like give yourself a little bit of time, unless you have already done the TOEFL and you have your GREs and all of those things. But we actually do have that chemistry program, as Maggie shared before. You know that the professor in chemistry actually is the one that won the Nobel Prize. So we are super proud of that. And I think our program is, of course, I want to say that I think our program is a really wonderful program to go to.
Perfecto. Thank you, Yvonne. Actually, I have, now you have contact information, and also I have sent through the chat to everyone Yvonne's email address as well, if you want to contact any of them. So this is the contact information. Do you have any more questions to everyone? So please take the chance to send it through the chat to us. We have them here, or anyhow, you can contact them as well. I will share also, I will just let the screen. So if anyone wants to take the information contact, and I will also share our contact information from Education USA in case anyone can want to contact us. In the meantime, Maggie, Yvonne, Owusu, do you want to say anything else or to add to the presentation or to the webinar?
Maybe I would like to say something. What I would like to say is being an international student and having an experience of going to several universities, I feel like, as Maggie said earlier on, rent is really not that expensive. I've lived in Texas, which is very close to Mexico, and comparing the rent that I was paying to what I'm paying currently here with more rooms, it's really, really cheap and all affordable, depending on what you might say. The tuition is also very good and it's low. And also the research being done here is really, really nice. And faculty members are really student-centered, and they go by student approach and are very progressive, having a student in mind when they are working with them. I have a lot of friends who are international students here, and one of the things that they constantly stress on is faculty-student relationship is strong. Yesterday, one student reached out to me that he wants to develop an app. I said, you are in the electrical engineering department, reach out to Dr. Fowler. This morning, he sent me a long text message saying that I had a really good meeting with him on Zoom. He sent him that email right away. They set a Zoom meeting because they were both available that day, and they have been able to develop a plan going forward, who they need to bring on board, who will support him to achieve his goals. So it's not like just being teaching you and the academic aspect of it, but they also see how can we take this student, match his interests or his goals to his career goals so that we can project him going forward. He will leave here, graduate with something in hand. If you want to set up your own business, they will help you, give you those ideas. And that is what he's done for this student. Going forward, he wants to work for himself and not for someone. So right from this is just his first semester. So to be brief, what I would say is that here the faculty members do not just focus on academics, but also they have that relationship with students just to care for them. And also during this season, the university president has also been reaching out to let the students understand that we all understand what is going on. We care. We've sent surveys out to students just to understand how can we serve the students better in this situation. Another student reached out to me that he went to the pantry to get food, free food. So we just care more than the academic aspect of it. Your future goals is also very important to us, and your whole academic and your personal well-being is something that we take very much of interest. So being an international student, I would say I wish I could have had the Binghamton experience.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I just want to add something. Owusu was saying that, was talking about faculty members having one-on-one Zoom meetings with students. You can always reach out to any of us and we will help you get those one-on-one meetings if you want to talk to a faculty member, or you can have one-on-one meetings with us as well. We are always available.
Mm-hmm. And I would just end by saying that, as I mentioned earlier, please, as prospective students, don't be afraid to reach out. This really is what we are here for, is to help you and help to answer your questions. And so don't hesitate before reaching out to us, or if you're looking at other universities, to their admissions teams. We just want you to be successful.
Thank you, Maggie. Actually, we have gotten some more questions.
Oh, okay.
To you in Spanish. ¿Cuentan con cursos para mejorar las habilidades de comunicación oral como escrita?
Sí, sí tenemos. Tenemos cursos. Nosotros manejamos lo que llamamos el TOEFL, no el TOEFL, la enseñanza de inglés para extranjeros, pero también una cosa que es muy única de Binghamton, que yo no he visto en otras universidades en las que yo he trabajado, es el hecho de que tenemos un club internacional. Los estudiantes internacionales se juntan y entre ellos ayudan a que otros estudiantes aprendan el idioma y lo practiquen, más que nada que lo practiquen. Esto puede ser tanto como para inglés como para otros idiomas. Yo he visto gente que ha estado practicando el idioma francés. De hecho, me gustaría a mí unirme a estos grupos. Entonces, sí, tenemos tanto enseñanza para el nivel inglés, como también tenemos grupos de estudiantes y de miembros de la facultad que se unen para ayudar con la conversación y la práctica.
Perfecto. And another question. Although lifestyle, life costs, tuition costs, and other practical issues are important when choosing a university, I guess that is not something we want to mention in the personal statement or interviews, or is it okay to mention that?
I would say that's very much a personal decision. You know, I've received statements of purpose and emails where students are very forthcoming about the fact that, you know, their family does not have a lot of expendable income, that they are not in a position to take out loans, for example. And so if they don't receive funding, then they will not be able to enroll. That's good information to have, but I will also say that whether it's taken into consideration will just depend on the university and even the department that you're applying to. Some universities and departments will just say, like, we rank order all of the applications and that's how we make our funding decisions, where others will look at each situation more clearly and specifically. But I would say, like, it's good to mention it at some point, maybe not in your statement of purpose, but maybe to a staff person on email, because we may, for example, be aware of other scholarship or fellowship opportunities that you could apply for, and we can share those with you over email. Yvonne, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I think just, yeah, I agree with everything you said, actually.
Otra pregunta. ¿Cuál es el impacto de la edad al momento de aplicar a una maestría? Particularmente, tengo 35 años y 10 años de experiencia.
No hay ningún impacto en cuanto a la aplicación, porque la edad, en este aspecto me imagino que existe más experiencia profesional. Entonces, esa es la parte que uno puede vender aún mejor. Cuando yo apliqué para mi maestría, yo había dejado pasar tiempo entre la UNAM y regresar a tomar mis clases de maestría. Lo importante no es esto, sino es cómo estás, qué es lo que estás diciendo de ti, cómo estás vendiéndote, cuál ha sido tu experiencia. Yo he visto gente que aplica a la maestría que tiene 50 años o gente que ya se retiró y decide en ese momento regresar a estudiar. Entonces la edad no es ningún deterrente para poder continuar con la educación.
Perfecto. Well, it seems that we have more questions here. What happens if I don't have the GPA?
That's an excellent question. I would say, especially with international student transcripts, sometimes the GPA does not come out if you just do like a conversion to be quite the minimum GPA. In those situations, I would definitely recommend connecting with the department in advance. Again, making sure that they are aware of your situation. Most of the departments in the School of Engineering and Applied Science, they'll look through your transcript and see how you've done in key courses. So maybe you didn't do so well in, I don't know, something with like history in your freshman year. Computer science does not really care. They want to know how you've done in things like programming languages and things like that. The other thing I'll say is that if you have something else that can sort of counterbalance your maybe not so strong GPA, whether that's a really strong GRE score, good work experience or internship experience, things like that, most departments, I think, do a good job of looking at your whole application. And so if one part is a bit weak, you need something else to sort of lift it up so that it balances out.
Super. Hay otra pregunta. ¿Hasta cuándo creen que se regularicen las clases presenciales dada la situación actual?
Es una pregunta difícil, como nosotros esperamos que aquí en Nueva York y particularmente en Binghamton, donde nosotros vivimos, no hubo muchos casos, no ha habido muchos casos de COVID-19. Nosotros estamos esperando que la situación se vaya normalizando poco a poco. Sin embargo, pensamos que tendremos más información al respecto para mediados de junio. Nuestra idea es que probablemente podremos iniciar clases para el otoño, pero no estamos seguros de esto. Muy probablemente, si la idea sería aplicar para el siguiente año, para el año 21, el otoño del año 21, yo siento que para entonces las cosas ya van a estar normalizadas y tendremos clases como siempre.
Perfecto. Another question: do you offer a master in international studies or similar?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, so I was just thinking of, there's, I guess part of it depends on what you're going to do. If you want to do international business, we do have some classes with international business focus within the School of Management. But if you're wanting to do sort of the more general international studies, that sort of intersection of history, anthropology, current events, all of that, no, Binghamton wouldn't have a program that quite fits that need.
Perfect.
So I think the political science department has a concentration in global and international affairs as well. So what I'll do is I'm sending a link to Yendi, and then Yendi will also send it to, Yendi will also send it out to the student.
Perfect. So check your chat, the chat, so you can get information about this. And now I will share our contact information. We invite you to follow us in social media, as well as our official website, educationusa.state.gov. So in all of these, our official website and our social media, you will find the different topics, different webinars we are working and we are offering to all of you. So it's interesting information, and as well, please make sure that the links to Bitly I have sent through the chat, the current ones, because these are not anymore the ones in use. So through the chat you can find the new ones, the new links. Here is also our location, but remember that we are remaining closed until further information through, due to this situation and through this contingency. It seems that there is no more questions. Just let me recheck once more. We have some actually some comments. Thank you. Love the topic and the presentation. And as well, from our regional director, it's very useful data on the job markets and employability in relation to degrees. Great tips and in everything. Thank you very much. In terms of masters against doctorate, all information very useful. And well, we hope also that all participants have enjoyed, and is for sure very useful for all of them that are interested in these STEM programs. If you want to add anything else, then if there is no more questions, and we are looking forward to collaborate with you. So please don't hesitate to contact us in Education USA if we can help you with advising for all of you interested in study in any university in the US. And of course, contact our representatives of today for Binghamton University. Thank you very much for your participation and collaboration, Maggie, Yvonne, and Owusu. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much.
Looking forward for other topics to share to our participants. To all the participants, good afternoon. And this is the end of our presentation today. Looking forward to see everyone in other webinars. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.